Many, many years ago, in the land of animals, there was no food or water. All the animals were very hungry and thirsty. They all became thin. Mr. Tortoise noticed that the birds looked fresh and fat. So he went to the birds to ask why they were looking so healthy. "Please tell me your secret," Mr. Tortoise begged. Hello, and welcome to the channel's book club. In today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the exciting news about the 2013 Caine Prize for African Writing and showing you interesting clips from visits we made to see some bright students of SOS Hamamena Primary School and TerraCulture's resourceful reading room. We'll also be showing you an interview we had with a talented children's book author. Actually, the author of this book I read from. Please join us after this break.
It opens with a gate of arts, moves into windows of creativity.
She finds the only English word she knows from somewhere hidden in the belly of a 4-foot 9-inch body, and instead of "I won't care," she greets us with "bye-bye."
Branches into rooms of color. And ends with a roof of imagination.
Walk into Art House. The pieces all come together at 9:30 p.m. every Saturday. Art House, life is art.
My name is Mary Akio. I am 11 years. I'm in class basic 6. Story, 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 story. It's story time. This story is about Favor, a 3-year-old girl who is yet to be of school age. All she does all day long, as others head for school, is to stay back and play with her toy baby girl. But you just wonder why this girl can't think of finding something better to fill her time than playing with an ordinary toy.
My name is Yenkoni Chiamaka. I'm 10 years old. I am in basic 6. Okonkwo was well known throughout the 9 villages and even beyond. His fame rested on solid personal achievements. As a young man of 18, he had brought honor to the village by throwing Amanzil the cat. Amanzil was the great wrestler who for 7 years was unbeaten from Umofia to Mbano. It was called the cat because his back would never touch the earth. It was this man that Okonkwo threw in a fight, with which the old man agreed was one of the fiercest since the founder of their town engaged a spirit of the wild for 7 days and 7 nights.
My name is Olukola Araju, and I'm 11 years old, and I'm in primary 6. I enjoy reading educative books and books which can employ young children to be focused on their education.
Can you read something from it for me?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a small yet powerful princely state in Rajasthan. The ruler king Raghavendra was an able and ambitious man. His capability and powerful army brought the small neighboring states under the umbrella of his sovereignty. Besides their friendship, the kings Ravendra got rich precious gifts like invaluable gems, jewelry, and a large amount of money.
It's a happy time for the literary community in Nigeria. Last Wednesday, the 2013 Caine Prize shortlist was announced. And out of the 5 stories shortlisted, 4 are entries from Nigerian writers, and 1 is from Sierra Leone. Let's get to know them. Tope Folarin's Miracle. Tope was educated at Morehouse College and the University of Oxford, where he earned 2 master's degrees as a Rhodes Scholar. Elnathan John's Bayanlai. Elnathan is a full-time writer who trained as a lawyer in Nigeria. Chinelo Okparanta's America. Chinelo earned her BSc from the Pennsylvania State University and her MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop. Abubakar Adam Ibrahim's The Whispering Trees. Abubakar is a Gabriel Garcia Marquez Fellow. He won the BBC African Performance Prize in 2007, Foreign Aid, by Paddy Hollis. Hollis is a native of Sierra Leone. He's an associate professor of English at the University of Tampa, Florida. This is Terra-Culture. It's one of the most interesting places where you can find indigenous books, books written by local writers, from Wole Soyinka to Chinua Achebe to Sefi Atta and the rest of them. You'll find an array of books written by some of the best names in writing in Nigeria. This room here serves not just as a bookshop, but also as a reading room and also a library. I'm speaking loud like this because the readers here have given me the permission to do this. Why is Terra-Culture, you do about 90% local books?
Well, the essence of this space is to promote Nigerian writers and publishers. So we put more emphasis on books written by Nigerians, published by Nigerians, because we feel that they need a platform to showcase what they have. And we also need a one-stop shop where if you want anything Nigerian, you can just walk in and get what you want.
Okay. What has it been like? People say Nigerians don't read. That's a common thing.
Yeah.
Do people buy these local books? Do people patronize these books?
Surprisingly, yes. It is not as high as you would expect anyway, but to a large extent, from the experience we've had running the store, we've had a lot of people coming in to buy Nigerian books. We've had a lot of people reading our books, coming asking for particular books that they've heard of, they want to read. And during the course of having book reviews, book readings, surprisingly, we have a lot of people interested in such events. You know, Nigerians most of the time don't want to be involved in that kind of thing, but to a large extent now you say you have a book reading, you have an author signing session, and people come. So it's actually growing.
So those things are happening in Nigeria now?
Yeah, they're happening.
Of book readings author signings and all that. They sound foreign.
Even the book is foreign. All the books we have here, they are all as a result of the inventions of the white people anyway. Books are not necessarily our own invention, even though we have mastered the act of also publishing and also writing very well, especially because, especially when Wole Soyinka won the Nobel Prize, Nigerian literature became hot cake. A lot of people want to read about Nigerian writings, and a lot of Nigerians also want to read the author. Not just reading about the book, you have the opportunity to sit with the author, to have your book autographed, to ask questions about interesting books you've read. So it has inspired a lot of people to want to read Nigerian books and attend such events. And such events of recent have become very popular, especially in Lagos. I don't know what happens in other parts of Nigeria, but in Lagos, yes.
I noticed you also have books written by foreign authors. How would you judge the rate of sales? Would you say people buy, from your experience, people buy more of books written by local authors or more books written by foreign authors?
Considering the percentage of Nigerian books we have to that of the foreign books, we would say we sell mostly Nigerian books more than we sell the foreign books. And also, what really drives the sales of a book is not just that it is written by a Nigerian or written by a foreigner, but more or less how interesting the book is. There is a review either online or in a magazine, and somebody reads about this book and hears about the book, and they all want it. So at times people walk in here looking for particular books because of what they've heard about the book or about the author. For example, the recent book by Chinua Achebe, There Was a Country. People walk in here asking for There Was a Country, There Was a Country. We have a host of other books here by Chinua Achebe. Things fall apart, no longer at ease. But they want that because of the review in the press. So these are the factors, not necessarily that it's written by a Nigerian or that it's written by a foreigner, but how well the book is received by the media, they publicized, and then people hear about it and want to also have copies of the books.
I noticed you do magazines. Are they mainly local magazines?
Not primarily local. We have a lot of local magazines. Then we also have foreign magazines. The local magazines sell a lot because there are stories about what's happening here. But there are a lot of people that also want to hear about what's happening out there, and they come in and look out for the foreign magazines.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. What kind of readings do you do here?
What I enjoy most is the internet. I just come here I do a lot of e-book stuff, so I read it online. The internet is very fast, so I prefer this location. It's quiet and I can do my work and use the internet with my laptop.
So you're one of the new generation e-readers?
Yeah, exactly. You have it on your machine and you can go anywhere with it. The most important thing is the good internet stuff they have here.
Do these local books hold any fascination for you? Do you read books written by local authors?
Not exactly, but when I move around, the titles attract me. I look at them and that's all.
So, have you read any of Chinua Achebe's books, any of Wole Soyinka's books, any of the books written by Sefi Atta and the rest of them?
Yeah, back in school, yes, but now in business, I read more of business stuffs. Those authors you mentioned are not business, but when I move around, the titles attract me and remind me of the Nigerian and African thing as a whole. I just like the environment. It makes me feel like in Africa.
What kind of books do you enjoy reading?
Because of my background, which is English language, I try to focus on literature. So African drama, I really love drama books and maybe poetry every now and then when I feel a little down. But other than that, it's general reading. Yeah, it's general stuff.
What do you think about the reading culture in the country?
I think there's room for improvement, to be honest. I think most times people read because they they are forced to read, not because they actually enjoy reading. People read because either they have to study for a course or because it's a requirement for a certain course or program. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Yes, people have to learn to imbibe the reading culture here in Nigeria, because as they say, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in between the book. I think we need to change that. And we need to, from now, the kids need fresh orientation about reading.
TerraCulture holds a fascination for you because you have a space for reading, and then you have books written by indigenous writers and all that. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct, because of they have a lot of local content here, things that you really wouldn't find outside. It's here, you can come here, pick something up and read, and then obviously you have to buy some of them. I think that the fact that you can come, it's more like a museum for me. You can come here, look around, and then, you're overwhelmed by what we are capable of doing in Nigeria. You realize that a lot of us in Nigeria are actually being, for lack of a better term, underutilized. That we are so intelligent here in Africa, in Nigeria, but people are too lazy to I don't know what word to use, but to kind of put themselves in that position where they can produce things that make sense, books that make sense, music that makes sense, art that makes sense. I think, yes, Nigeria is actually, we're very gifted, and we're not being utilized enough in Nigeria and Africa as a whole.
The Caine Prize for African Writing is an annual literary award for the best original short story by an African writer, whether in Africa or elsewhere, published in English language. The £10,000 prize was founded in the UK in 2000 and was named in memory of Sir Michael Harris Caine, former chairman of Booker Group plc. Because of the Caine Prize's connection to the Booker Prize, it is sometimes called the African Booker. It was first awarded in 2000 to the Sudanese writer Leila Abulela for her short story titled The Museum at the Zimbabwe International Book Fair in Harare. Kemi, welcome to the Channels Book Club, and congratulations on your book, Tales of Mr. Tortoise. Yep. That's a very interesting title. Yeah. Why did you choose to write on tortoise?
When Tosin told me about One Child, One Book, and they've been looking for ways to actually start publishing their own books as a charity, and then I was thinking of what stories to write, and it would have been easier to find, some of my weird, imaginative stories. But then I thought that, I think I asked a child, like an 8-year-old, if she'd heard about, stories of tortoises that we heard growing up. And she just looked at me like, what are you talking about? And I think like the tradition is dying, or, the kind of folklore. Because I remember growing up, with my mom, whenever we had the, NEPA issues, she would just gather us and the neighbors' kids outside and tell us stories of why the tortoise is bald, why Mr. Tortoise has a rough shell. So I thought about writing that, as we wrote in the book, that, the plot of the story is not original, but my own words and the way I've depicted it is different from how anybody else will also depict it. So it's like a story that I think is actually, the other day I heard another African writer talk about it. So I don't think it's something that's just, Nigerian as well. I was so surprised that everybody else knew about Tales of Tortoise. So that's the first volume. So hopefully, this is why Mr. Tortoise has a rough shell. So hopefully, as time goes on, we have more stories about, why he has a bald head and stuff.
How significant is the tortoise story to our culture, our learning?
I think it is, because someone once said that the African kind of story tradition is very much oral, or it was very much oral. So, growing up with it, I think we can probably just ask, our grandparents, because I mean it's something that my mom's mom told her and then my mom passed it on to me, and I think it's just stopped from probably from my generation, and people just don't know these stories anymore. So I think it's important to keep our folklores, you know, our legends. We should keep it alive, because the Greek, for instance, you know, they have the stories that, you know, we read about the Greek mythology and stuff like that. We have lots of, like, you know, folklores of African origin that we should keep alive, and that's why I've chosen.
Personally, I remember the Tortoise story.
Yeah.
Taught us things like the importance of being truthful, being honest, not being greedy, not being selfish.
Yeah.
Tortoise got into a lot of trouble back then because of all those. Are children learning these things these days?
Hopefully they are. I don't know, because I think most kids these days, I'm not even sure what they're reading now. But I know growing up, I didn't read about these things. I'm not sure if they were documented. I think it was very much oral. So the stories I read were just from, you know, like story books that they brought from abroad for us, or stories from our school textbooks, from our English language school textbooks. So I think, which, you know, we need to also go further into, you know, enriching our own tradition, as I've said earlier, and, you know, yeah, I think, because at the end of the day, the purpose of the stories then, as my mom, you know, told me, it wasn't just entertainment, it was also to pass across. It always had to have underlining lessons. It wasn't just about, oh, tell us a story about Peter Pan adventures and stuff. You know, these are stories, and we incorporated that in the book as well. So at the end, we put the moral of the story, you know, do not be greedy, share things with your friends.
and tell me the humor, the tortoise humor is here.
It is there.
Legendary humor.
It's very there. Greedy, Mr. Tortoise, and it's very likable as well. Like, it's not the kind of guy you really just want to, you know, put aside that is a bad person. You know, it starts off very innocent. In this story, he's hungry, he's begged the birds, then the birds have told him something, and then he's told the, you know, they've asked him not to tell the secrets, and then he gets there, he just gets greedy, he's a glutton. And then, you know, one of the readings, the school visitations we had last week, I read the stories to a class, and the kids were in stitches just laughing about it. Some of them had never heard of the story, and I was really surprised. Like, come on, at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, you know, I knew these stories. Yeah. Just, yeah.
Tell us about One Child, One Book. I understand this book is for One Child, One Book.
Yeah.
What's One Child, One Book about?
The One Child, One Book initiative was started by the Tosin Jegede Foundation, which is by Tosin Jegede, and it seeks to ensure that every child in Nigeria has at least one book in their hands. And that's very important, because I think it started when there was a UNESCO statistics, I think it was back in 2010, that said that it put Nigeria, I think, in 140 something out of 169 or so countries tested for literacy. And so I think that's why Tosin wanted to start with the primary school children. And this is because this is the, you know, this is where the cognitive stages of life, where they actually start to read. And this is why One Child, One Book was, you know, born. And so it's for my friendship with Tosin Jegede that made me automatically, naturally interested in wanting to write for One Child, One Book. I never thought I was going to write a children's book, because I don't write children's stories. My stories can be sad and a bit... And sometimes I worry that it's actually not too gory, with Mr. Tortoise falling and with his scattered shells. But yeah, this has been a good opportunity to write for One Child, One Book, yes. So that book is solely for One Child, One Book initiative. And we're looking to produce more copies in Nigeria.
So this is going to be distributed to children across the country?
At the moment, we were able to raise money enough to produce 300 copies. And that's with the design and illustration of the book. So plus printing, we had a fundraising, I organized a fundraising concert in England, in Bristol, and it was amazing. I had my friends come over. I'm into music, so I thought we'd use music. So I got my musician friends together. We formed like a fake band. And we invited, you know, my parents and people, my friends' parents invited their friends, you know, and we came together, and then we were able to raise. And then we did, apart from the program, we also did an online fundraising. So altogether, we were able to raise about £1,000. And that's what we've used. I mean, we're thinking of raising more than that, because we wanted to start with 1,000 books. So, but what we were able to do with the production, like I said, the illustration and design and everything, we were able to produce about 300 books that we're going to now give to kids on Children's Day, the 27th of May.
I mean, this is a very wonderful initiative. I have to say that. And I hope somebody out there will send you some money for this.
I hope so too.
I want to tell you a little story about books. To be a successful rapper, you need to know how to read. At least it gives you more advantage because it builds up your vocabulary. If you don't know how to cook, just so you know, there are books on how to cook. So books can actually teach you how to make food as well. Books can teach you about everything that you don't know about a lot of places you've never been to. So basically, books can open your mind to the possibilities that you could ever imagine. And I'm coining this: more books, less crooks. Watch the channel's book club. Stay tuned. God bless you. Let's go.
From one nation to another, there must be a meeting point. Their ideas may be different, but they must work to agree on what's best for the people. Diplomatic Channel untangles the discussions to bring out what's really important. Because it is our world, and it's our right to know how their decisions affect us.
I hope you enjoyed that. Please note our social media details on your screen and feel free to hop on board with us. Don't forget you can watch this show online real time at m.channelstv.com or watch past episodes on our YouTube channel, which is displayed on your screen. Our book of the week is a novella titled Every Day is for the Thief, written by Teju Cole, a gifted Nigerian American writer. The book is an account of a Nigerian in the diaspora who returns home after many years abroad. Teju's work is both a critique and a message of hope to a Nigeria rapidly in transformation. Let's know what you think of it after reading it. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.